everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got an epic show ahead, but just remember, if any of you have experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can either email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com or head over to paranormalportal.net and scroll down and find the button that says Interview Me, and that'll allow you to look at a calendar of possible times and dates and find a date that works for you. Love to hear your stories, so definitely get in touch with me. Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Portal podcast. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I thank you so much for being here and being a part of these shows. We are going to go on an epic adventure today. I've got a wonderful guest. Shiva Safari is with me, and we are going to go through her really positive accounts, which is wonderful. We don't hear enough of these positive ones. It's always the dark ones that get all the press, but I'm excited to get into these because I think a lot of experiences are very positive, but they don't get the attention they deserve. So we're going to take a jaunt down the positive road of the paranormal today and get into this right now. So we're going in. Hey, Shiva, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, Brent.
I'm thrilled that you made the time to make this happen. Obviously, I love talking about this stuff, but I'm really excited that your experiences are positive. I think I've had several of those myself. And again, we always hear about the dark, spooky, horrible stuff, but it's really awesome when we hear something uplifting and wonderful. So, as you're a listener of the show yourself, I got to start with my one canned question. Where did this start for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's always been there. Interestingly, I think it was just the way I was raised. I was very lucky because, I'm originally Persian, and actually, like a lot of Iranians, like coming from Iran, it's like Islam, and it's like, kind of like Christianity, where it's like more scary, and like you have to be careful to not sin because otherwise, you're gonna go to hell. And like, but I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up like I don't know why specifically, but my parents, my family, they were always very spiritual and very positive and safe way. So it was always a given. Like from the day I was born, it was just put into my head that of course God exists. Of course there's angels. Of course there's ghosts. And this is all good. And this is all natural. And it's exciting. So it was just always like, yeah, obviously all this exists, And, but I guess the thing that also like, maybe was not so good was as a kid, I was really always scared, because I was like, there's like this whole unseen world around me.
Yeah.
And it exists for sure, but I can't see it. So I would always be scared to sleep alone. So, and then my like dad or my uncle or my mom, they would like lie with me till I would fall asleep. And they would always tell me, don't be afraid because you're a child and you're more vulnerable, you have more angels looking after you than adults do. So there's like 100 angels guarding you. And I was like, 100 angels for me? And they're like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, but how is there 100? Like, and they're like, well, there's so many angels, So even if there's anything bad, nothing can happen to you. So it was always there, honestly, just the way that I grew up. And it was a very safe notion of like, God is good, there's love, everything is forgiveness, and everything is, like we're meant to have a safe experience in this life as human beings, and we're always watched and taken care of. That's kind of how it was programmed into me.
Which is wonderful. I think that's very empowering and It's nice to feel more sure-footed in this stuff, and it's great that they were so supportive and helpful on your journey, because usually it's the inverse, and I don't think parents are going out of their way to, shut their kids down, but of course the automatic response from a parent when there is an account is, it's just your imagination. You just had a bad dream, and to put it back, in the kid where they go, well, God, it felt real. And then let's go back to your room. And I just think about how damaging that can be. So it's wonderful that they were there and keeping you calm or peaceful about it. I think that's great. But where was your?
Also,
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, because I also have memories of like always being called the little psychic or the little medium. I don't know where they got that idea, to be honest, because it's kind of like they encouraged me even, thinking back, because they were always like, well, what do you feel? Like, what, because you have those powers, you have a gift. Like they would always tell that to me. But I don't know. I don't have memories. Like maybe I was very little and I would say stuff and that's where they got the idea. But I don't, because, you have memories from when you're like 6, 7 up, right? But I do remember they were always like, you're a medium and we believe you. What do you feel?
Oh, well, that's really wild. Yeah, you must have tipped your hat earlier in life and they caught it and went, oh, she's onto something here.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
That's wonderful.
What were you going to ask?
When was your first memorable experience? Walk us through that, if you would.
Yeah, that was actually probably one of the most beautiful and one of the most powerful ones I've ever had. That one. So from what I remember, unless I had other ones before. But so I was about 10 years old, and at that time we were living in Switzerland, my family and I, and my maternal grandma, she died before I was born. So when my mom was pregnant with me, she died. So I never met my maternal grandma. But then her dad, my mom's dad, was alive and he lived in Iran by himself. Oh. And then like every year or two, he would like come to Switzerland for a couple of months and stay with us. Mm-hmm. But so I knew him, right? And I cared about him, obviously. But, he was living in Iran. He wasn't that old. I don't know how old he was when he died, but he wasn't very old. I think he must have been like his early 70s. And he was fine. Like he was living by himself. He was self-sufficient. He had his little routine and nobody was like worried about him in any way, something happening. And so at this point I was 10, and then one night, I went to sleep. Like I said, I was often afraid to sleep by myself. So I was 10 years old, but I was sleeping next to my mom because I was afraid to sleep by myself. And we were living in this like 6-story townhouse in Switzerland, which sounds crazy, but it's basically like on every story there was a room or 2 rooms, and it was like all stacked.
Oh, okay.
And and it was 6 stories, but in my dream, I was on the ground floor, and there was no basement. Okay, and this man came up to me that I didn't know, who was like, when you're a kid, everybody looks like they're 40, 50. Who knows? Like maybe he was 27, but he looked like 40 to me. But with my 10-year-old brain, what looked like to be like a 40-year-old person, this man came up to me and he seemed super nice. And I was alone. And he said in my dream, he's like, do you want to meet your grandma? And I said, yeah, I would love to meet my grandma. So he took my hand. And we went down a floor, like into a basement that didn't actually exist in this house.
Oh, okay.
We went into the basement, and then there was a door and like a room, and then we stepped in, and it was a normal bedroom size, like not a big bedroom, not small, just like a normal regular bedroom size. Sure. And my grandma was there, and it was like this tiny room. There was a little window. There was like a kitchenette on one side, like a single mattress bed on the other, a shower in one corner, like a whole apartment in one bedroom,
Sure.
And that's the first thing that stood out to me. It's like she was like very happy and like very positive energy, but I was like, what is this room? So I told my grandma, the first thing I told her, I was like, I thought you went to heaven. and she was like, I did go to heaven. And then I was like, but why are you in this room? And then she said, well, this is what heaven is for me. But when it's your time, whatever you need, that's what's heaven going to be for you. And I'm happy here like this. And this is what I have because this is what I want. And I was like, okay, then I felt better. I was like, thank God, because when I die, I don't want to be in a tiny room like this, I was like, okay, good. And then I just noticed, she was very happy. Like she was just getting ready. She was like getting dressed and she was just so radiant and excited. And she was like a bit busy, and I was like, well, why are you so happy? And then she's like, oh, I can't tell you. And I'm like, why can't you tell me? And she's like, oh, because, your mom is next to you and she's going to get upset. And I was like, no, like, I won't tell her, tell me. Once somebody tells me they can't tell me, I will die until they tell me. Like, I can't let it go.
Okay.
I was like, please tell me, why are you so happy? And then she was like, okay, well, there's somebody that I've been waiting for a long time and I'm going to receive them. I'm going to help them cross over. And I've been waiting for a long time. I'm just so happy to be receiving this person. And I was like, but who is it? Tell me. And she's like, I can't tell you. Your mom's going to be upset. And she didn't tell me. So I don't remember how the conversation like kind of wrapped up, but it was all very hurried. It was like there's limited amount of time and I could just see her for a moment and she had to go and I had to go. That's what it felt like. And so then I'm getting a bit emotional telling the story. And then so then the man again, he took my hand and basically we left. And then I woke up right away and it was around like 3:34 a.m. in Switzerland, which and there's a 2.5 hour time difference in Iran. So, it was like 6:30 a.m. in Iran when I woke up. So I woke up and I woke up my mom who was lying next to me and I told her about my dream. And my mom was like, oh, well, like, not that she dismissed it, but
Sure.
she was like, it's nice. But, and you've seen pictures of my mom and, you dreamt of her. But to me, it was like very real. Like, it didn't
Yeah.
feel like a dream. I was like, this is what, and I wonder who she's like going to like receive. Like, and my mom was like, well, I don't know about that, but like it's nice. And then I wanted to know about my grandma because I had just met her. Like to me, it felt like I had just met her. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like I had dreamt about her. So I wanted to like keep that. And I was like, tell me more about your mother. Tell me stories. And we just stayed up and she just told me about her childhood and her mom. And, we just didn't go back to sleep. And then it was around 6 in the morning, where like Switzerland time, so like about 2 hours after we woke up, that our like doorbell rang, and my mom's like, "Who's here at 6 in the morning?"
Yeah.
Like this is weird. And her bedroom window overlooked like the main entrance, so we like poke our heads out, and it's like my uncle with his wife, like her brother, with his wife standing outside and just looking like desolate and all that. And my mom is like, what are you doing here at 6 in the morning? And then he was kind of like not knowing what to say. And he's like, can you just let me in? And she's like, but what are you doing here? And then he's like, I had a fight with my wife. And then my mom is like, well, if you had a fight with your wife, how come you're both here? You know? And then she's like, okay, he's like, just let us in. And then my mom's like, okay. So we went down the stairs and as she opened the door and they were walking in, it just clicked for my mom. She just looked to him, looked to me, and then she just broke down crying and she was like, our dad has died. Yeah. I'm getting emotional. But
Yeah.
anyway, it turns out that what had happened is that, he had this little routine where he would wake up at 6 in the morning in Switzerland, in Iran, and he was friends with the garbage man, like the guy who picked up the garbage.
Okay.
Who would pass in the morning around that time. So he would wake up around 6 and he would take his trash. He would go to the street, and that his house basically had this like wall and this gate, so you couldn't see. Like you would walk inside the gate, and then there was a few steps going up to his house, and you couldn't see the steps from outside because
Okay.
there was a wall and a gate. But so he had basically got out of his house, like he would get out of his house to put the garbage, and then he would talk with his friend for half an hour, and that was part of his routine. But that morning, he hadn't shown up. So his friend had waited for him and gotten worried. And then he had let the neighbors know. And then somebody had climbed over the wall to check on him. and he had had a heart attack on the steps of his house. He
Wow.
had that there. Yeah, so it's anyway, so that's pretty wild, I would say, as a
That
experience, and was my first experience.
the thing that I love about that story, and it's on my YouTube show, I cover a lot of stories from different sources, and oftentimes we'll cover things about like nursing homes and stuff where people are kind of on their last leg, and oftentimes these people that are dying in the nursing homes will start having conversations with people nobody can see. Well, who are you
Mm,
talking to? Oh, it's my husband. He's come to help bring me home. And you think about that and you think, well, it's a beautiful notion. But your experience kind of ties it together on a whole different level, because you saw your grandmother who was coming to get him.
yeah,
And it just really anchors that narrative for me, and I love that when our time comes, that our loved
yeah,
ones that have gone before us will come and bring us home. And so that's
yeah.
really beautiful, really beautiful.
That, I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. I've heard those stories too, and it's true. Like that's what they say, that their spouse or
Yeah.
sibling close to them. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's
And,
true.
and when you hear those stories, you think, well, is this a delusion or a coping mechanism of a dying person?
Yeah,
That they envision these things because it brings them comfort, but you had it from a whole different angle. I think that's
yeah, no,
really
exactly. Kind of
cool.
my story confirms that that is true, because
Yeah.
we weren't expecting him to pass away. He wasn't like hospitalized, or like like he was living by himself. He was fully self-sufficient. So it just happened out of the blue. And so yeah, I mean, if that's not some kind of testament, I don't know what
Yeah,
is.
exactly. I think it's very powerful, and it's just neat to hear a different angle of that same narrative. So, to me, that really solidifies that as a very real, powerful event. So, that's pretty crazy. Now, you and I were talking before recording, and you said that dreams are often the vehicle by which most of your premonitions and stuff come. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's mostly by dreams. I've had some auditory, never visual, but like telepathic. But yeah, it's mostly dreams. Yeah. Well, actually, one visual I did have.
Okay,
Only one, though. Only one.
sure.
We'll get to it when we get to the chronology part.
Okay, well, take us to the next experience that you remember.
Okay, so the next one, I was around 12, so it was about 2 years later. And at that time, my parents had moved to Canada with one of my brothers. I have two brothers. And I had opted to stay in Switzerland and live with the aforementioned uncle and aunt. I didn't want to
Yeah.
move country. I wanted to stay in Switzerland. So I was staying there, and then they just had one guest room, and then my aunt's sister from Iran was visiting and staying with them for a couple months, and she's very religious, like Muslim, but again in a spiritual way, but she is in a way that she prays, like she does all the Islamic prayers. She covers herself, and like she won't let a man see her, and like she's got that whole story there, but she's still a safe person because she's not judgmental. Like she wouldn't tell me or her sister to cover up. Like my aunt would just walk around, live her life in Switzerland. So it's her personal thing, but she doesn't like impose it. But
Right.
still, like I was 12, and I was impressionable, and she's a super nice woman. But I was impressionable when I see this woman that's like, if there's a man in the house, she'll go hide in the bed for her when she's like covering herself, and she's
Oh,
praying diligently. And the part of me wondered, like, what if I'm like a bad believer? What if everything she's doing to be like good, does that then make me bad? Because I don't do any of those things. So I had
right.
that concern that popped up for me. And because there was only one bedroom, she was sleeping basically in my room, and I had a mattress on the floor, and she was sleeping on the bed. So we would sleep together at night. And then one night when we were sleeping, I voiced my concerns to her. I'm like, I'm worried because I see the things that you're doing and I don't do them. Like, what if that makes me bad, like in the eyes of God, And she's like, no, like, you're not bad. Like, you live here in Switzerland. You're not in Iran. Like, this is a completely different culture. And, you need to integrate where you live. And, this is not how God judges us, basically. And then I was like, well, what can I do to, be better? And then she's like, well, maybe just pray every night. And I was like, okay, but like, what am I supposed to say? And then she gave me a verse from the Quran, which is in Arabic, and we don't speak Arabic, we're Persian, right? And
Okay.
it's basically like Our Father, like that prayer,
Sure,
like
the
the
Lord's Prayer.
equivalent in Arabic, yeah.
Yep.
And she's like, say that. And I told her, I said, but I don't speak Arabic. I don't understand what I'm saying. I want to understand what I'm saying to God. And then she's like, well, I'll translate it for you. This way you know what you're saying. And then just recite this 7 times every night before you sleep. Okay? So that's what I did. I recited that Arabic piece that she had taught me. I memorized it and I recited it 7 times. And then I went to sleep. And then I had a very magical experience.
Oh, wow. Do tell.
Very magical. Yeah. So basically, in my dream, I was like in this kind of like almost like castle like place, like this old historic place. And there was a lot of tourists. It was like a museum, almost like, where so many people and visitors and just so noisy. And there was this one woman who was like holding these footprints on a piece of stone. Okay. And she was holding it like that. And she was walking around and she was screaming, whose footprints are these? Whose footprints? And I was like, ooh. So there's this man I saw and I was like, what? What is she yelling about? What is she screaming about? And the man is like, oh, she's crazy. Just ignore her, but she was fanatically, whose footprints are these? And then suddenly everybody disappeared. The whole place was just quiet. And it was like, how in museums you have like artifacts in like glass, kind of like you have like these tables covered by glass.
Sure.
And the artifacts are inside.
Yep.
So then this footprints, like that stone with the 2 footprints on it was inside this covered up thing on this podium. And there was nobody there. I was all by myself suddenly. And then this feeling just told me to go over to that like piece of stone and just put my hands over it. It was like a feeling that came to me. So I went and I put my hands over it, and then from between my hands this light emerged, and then suddenly this guy, like this prophet like figure, like the Jesus movies where they're wearing like the brown robe and the sandal shoes and they've got the curly brown hair.
Yeah.
Literally like a Moses movie.
Yeah.
This guy is just hovering in the air, and I like got scared and I just took a few steps back. Like this man is standing there, beautiful man, like literally like the movies we see those actors that they choose with the curly brown hair.
Sure.
Like these beautiful radiant men, like 30ish. And I stepped back in fear, and then he telepathically communicated, like he wasn't speaking, but I could hear him in my mind. And he said you don't need to be afraid of me, so why are you running? And then I was like, that feels right. So then I just like sat on the ground and I just like listened to him, and he's like hovering above this thing. And then he told me, he said, tonight you asked the question. It's going to make me cry. He said, tonight you asked the question. Oh, first he introduced himself. He introduced himself as a prophet.
Okay.
He said he's a prophet of God. And more specifically, like in Islam, we have 12, well, not Islam, but like Shia Muslim, we have 12 prophets. He introduced himself as the 8th prophet. And then he said, God wanted me to give you a message because you asked a question tonight and he wanted to give you an answer. Oh my God, it's going to make me cry. And then he said, God wants you to know that you don't need to pray in any language or in any way. As long as you speak with God with your heart, he will always hear you. There's no place you need to go. There's nothing special you need to recite. Just speak from your heart and he will listen. And I was like, okay. And then he kind of went like this with his hand, and like this like screen manifested on the wall, almost like a cinema screen, but it was like on the wall. Like, and then I was seeing these images, and I saw it was like this, those ancient villages where like homes are made with like, I don't know, mud or whatever.
Yeah.
Like ancient village, and I could hear voices of women and children. And then he went inside, and then one of these huts, he went down a few steps, and I was just watching like a cinema movie. He went inside one of these huts, and then there was a spring there, and he cleansed himself from that water, and that was it. That was the dream. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I wake up and in the morning, I told the story to my aunt and her sister, and they were like, "Oh my God!" Like her sister was like literally touching me. She's like, "You've been touched by a prophet."
Oh, wow.
They're all super believers, and she was just like, "Oh my God, this is like, I've been praying all my life, and I've never had these experiences. You're so lucky." She fully believed that, like
Yeah.
fully,
Yeah.
which is cool because she could have also been like, "No, no, no,"
Right.
like. But she was like, "Let me touch you. Like maybe you still have the prophet energy."
Oh.
But anyway, but you know what's funny about this story? Like, I mean, that was beautiful. That message was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, makes me obviously feel very special, but I got proof that the dream was real 5 years later. So I told like my parents and immediate family this story, and nobody like had any idea about these footprints or anything. Everybody just listened. Everybody believed me.
Yeah.
But 5 years later, I went to Iran, like for the first time in a long time. I've only gone 3 times since we left Iran when I was 3 years old. So I went to Iran and I told this story to my cousin, a cousin of mine, and she said, a place like this exists. There's a place, it's like 150 kilometers from where we live, that this prophet that came to you, supposedly his footprints remained on this stone, and it's there, and that village is like partially preserved, and it's like a holy site where people go and they like touch the footprints and they pray for miracles, and the spring exists too, and supposedly that was his hut where he would go and like clean himself before prayer, and people go from that spring still exists, and people go to like get healing, or they take they're sick, or to like drink from that water and get healing. She's like, that place exists, you want to go see it? And Brent, the thing is, people will say, oh, maybe you read it somewhere. No, I was growing up in Switzerland, I wasn't in Iran. There's no history book in Switzerland that's going to talk about this holy site and some village there in Iran, with the footprints. My parents didn't know about it because they're not religious.
Right.
This ultra religious woman didn't know about it because she didn't even know, like, when I told her the story. So there's no way I could have read or seen that anywhere, because some people will try to talk me out of it like that.
Sure.
They'll be right. You must have heard about this place. Yeah. Anyway, so we went, and yeah, that piece of stone with the footprints, like it was there, but it's like they put it in a wall, like a brick wall kind of, and people line up and they touch it and pray on it or whatever. And then this little house that was hut or whatever, that was supposedly his, like you go down a few steps and there's a spring, and for me that was like, what?
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
It is, but I think it's so incredibly cool and powerful because, again, this is a place you had no knowledge of, but you saw it very clearly. When you were there in person, you recognized it, like, yeah, this is it. This is.
But even the village, because it was partially preserved.
Sure.
It was like that I was, even when we were getting there, like the last kilometer, and I was like looking, I was like goosebumps. I was like, the place, like I'm getting goosebumps now.
Yeah.
I was like,
that is amazing. And it kind of saddens me to hear that some people try to talk you out of that, like to offer another explanation. And it's like, why? And I don't think it's malicious. I just think you're dealing with their paradigm, and that's what you get is them trying to process it. But it's a beautiful thing and it's empowering, and it's, I guess, reaffirming that we're not alone, and that's wonderful. But yeah, I
But I was telling you before we started recording, I told you I'm a skeptic myself. That's the crazy part.
yeah,
Like I have a big part of me that believes, especially these experiences that I've had, I'm like, obviously I have to believe. Like this is even insulting if I don't believe, like
yeah, yeah,
that, like my grandmother and like this prophet and everyone goes out of their way to tell me something. And I'm like, part of me is ashamed that, how dare you doubt? But
yeah,
there is a big part of me that's like, maybe it is just all coincidence or, you
yeah.
know, like wanting it to be true or, like
Sure.
it's unfortunate. I wish I could just believe 100%. I wish that.
Yeah, but I also respect the fact that, as we talked before we were recording, it's like I find myself doing the same thing, and I lived these experiences as well that I've had, and yet I still go, is there anything that I might have mistook or misunderstood or didn't catch something that would have explained it away? But I mean, in every case, it still holds up. But I think that's also important. As I was talking to you before, it's like I think it's productive to look at these things through our logical eyes, and if they still stand up, then that makes them even more powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. True.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So where are we going next on this journey?
If I could stay a little bit in the teenage years.
Sure.
This one actually I completely forgot to tell you or write it down, but it came to me while we were talking.
Hmm.
This is a visual one. I think this is my only visual experience, if I'm not mistaken, like actually seeing with my eyes. My brother, this is around like I'm like 15 or something.
Okay.
We were still in Switzerland, and my brother, he lived next to this ginormous cemetery. Okay.
Oh,
Huge. Like these cemeteries, I'm sure in the US you guys have the same thing, but some cemeteries, they're huge and they're gorgeous and they're basically parks.
yes.
So it's this huge like cemetery, and like to get to his place, I had to take the bus because we were living in a different city. My
Hmm.
brother's 10 years older than me. And the bus would, like the station to get off was, the stop to get off was exactly at the gates of the cemetery, like maybe like 20 feet from the gates of the cemetery.
Uh-huh.
And then you had to walk like another few hundred meters to get, it's like basically you get off the street and there's a cemetery and then you're in the middle of the woods too. This is Switzerland, okay? You're like in the middle of the woods.
Uh-huh.
And then you have to walk like maybe like I think like 250, 300 meters to get out of the woods and to get where there's like a block of like apartment buildings and stuff.
Okay.
Remember, I was going to my brother's and I was so terrified to get there when it's dark because I was like, I'm gonna die if I need to get off in front of the cemetery gates in the woods.
Yeah.
It was paved, obviously, but still,
Yeah.
I've always been a scaredy. The funny thing is, I'm like a scaredy cat, even though I've had these experiences. I'm like really scared.
Sure.
I was just so terrified to get there. So I was trying to get there in a way that I would get there before dark. But then it so happened that I got there just as the, sunset was well on its way. And it wasn't pitch black yet, but it was getting dark. And then we arrived at my stop. I was like, shit, I just wish somebody would get off with me.
Yeah.
And then I got off and nobody got off with me. I was like, oh God, no, I'm
Oh,
I'm just
no.
gonna run.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna run. And then as I get out and I prepare to run, I see this older man, like probably 80s or something, dressed in a suit with a cane. This old gentleman dressed super nicely with a cane, and he's just slowly walking towards the cemetery. And I was like, oh, thank God I'm not alone, like thank God I don't know what he's doing at this time of the night going to the cemetery. But thank God he's here. So like I relax a little bit, I start walking, and then he goes towards the gates of the cemetery, and I'm thinking, it's even closed right now. Like, why is he trying to go into the cemetery?
Yeah.
And then he reaches the gate, and poof, he was gone.
Oh.
Like this solid human. Yeah, he was gone. He was a ghost or something. It was just disappeared. And
Oh.
then I ran.
Then
And
you
then
ran.
I ran.
I don't blame you. That's a little hard to absorb. Wow.
No, but it wasn't like how some people they talk about seeing ghosts and they're a bit see-through or
Right.
no, this was like a solid human being. I was relieved when I saw him. I was like, thank God I'm not alone. But it didn't feel bad. And then
Right.
while I was running, I also sent him gratitude because in my heart, I was like, I think you made yourself visible because I was so scared. I think you were trying to help me, that I'm not alone. That's what it felt like to me,
Yeah.
that he had shown himself so that I wouldn't be so freaked out,
Yeah.
So it came from a good place. That's what it felt like.
No, that's really cool. I think it's how long did the apparition? How long was it visible? Like, if you were to put a time count on it.
I mean, I was 15 and then, memory distortion and all that stuff. I would say like probably 10, 15 seconds. Like
That's
it wasn't like fleeting. Like I was watching
sure.
him walk and it was like enough time for me to be like, thank God there's somebody I can relax. I'm like, what's going there? It's
Or is
close.
there?
It's hard. And yeah, no, it was for sure like 10, 15 seconds, that
Okay.
amount of time, because
Yeah.
just thinking about everything that I thought while watching, and I was watching him. I'm thinking, well, what is he doing? I'm walking with this cane. And then in retrospect, obviously he was dressed in a suit because that's probably
What he was
how he
buried
was
in.
buried.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
it was
my
a very
God.
nice suit. Yeah.
That always makes me marvel. It's like there must be every cemetery seems to have some level of spiritual activity in it, and I wonder what it is. It is interesting though that a lot of times when apparitions do manifest, they seem to pretty consistently manifest in whatever they were buried in. Like that becomes part of that identity, and that I find fascinating.
I never thought about that. But yeah, you're right. That makes sense.
I'm gonna get
That's
buried in SpongeBob pajamas then.
Yeah, you do that. That's a good idea. A Halloween
Nobody
costume.
could possibly be afraid of that, right?
Yeah, that's
No,
crazy. It's true. It's interesting, yeah.
it is.
But
It's
that's my only visual experience that I've had.
but that's powerful. I mean, especially manifesting and holding that for, about 15 seconds. That's an awful long time, really.
Yeah. No, I was fully solid
Yeah.
human. Like I never thought that was a ghost.
Yeah.
And the gates were locked. So, and it's like these big steel gates, like in
Yeah.
the movies.
Yeah.
And I was thinking they're closed. Why is he walking there? And then poof, he
Just
was just gone.
just gone. Yeah, that is amazing.
But
I
also no way that he could have gone somewhere else, okay? Because there's a paved road, there's a sidewalk, there's these huge trees, and there's this big gate, and he's like walking towards the middle of the gate. There was nowhere else where I could be confused and be like, maybe he went into this alley or he went behind.
right.
No, no, this was like open space. Like there's nowhere he could have gone, that I may have confused that.
Yeah. That's really
Yeah.
cool. I've only seen that apparition once, but it was very fleeting. It was maybe 3 seconds, 5 seconds, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But
Wow.
it was, again, it was walked by. I didn't see it disappear. Now, did you observe this apparition, or did it just blink out of existence suddenly as you were watching?
No, it was just gone.
Just
It just
gone.
blinked out of
Oof.
existence. Yeah, it didn't like disperse or in one moment he was there and then the next he was gone. It was just like never existed.
I got to tell you, Shiva, I often wonder if we all haven't seen those, but we just didn't know it because just like
Yeah.
you're saying, it was indistinguishable from an actual person being there until it disappeared. And then it's like, wait, this is not usual. How many times? And I think about this, like, because I always say hello to people when I'm walking around. Hello, hello, and then you'll come by somebody and maybe they're just a little more socially challenged that they
Yeah.
don't say anything. But I always wonder the ones that just go right by and you're like, oh, hi, good morning.
It goes, yeah, for sure.
Maybe.
But I was reading, like this is much later, this is more recently, maybe like a couple years ago. Moody, Dr. Moody.
Oh, yeah, Raymond Moody, yeah.
Yeah, Raymond Moody. Yeah, he has in one of his books, I don't remember which because I've read all of them, but in one of his books, he talks about this lady or professor, someone that had passed years ago, and she came to him fully apparated, fully human. They had a whole conversation. She came with him to his office. Like it was like a normal human to human, but he knew that she's a ghost because he knew she was dead.
Wow.
So that stood out to me. I was like, wow, because that wasn't like he didn't see an apparition. Like
Yeah.
that's the story he told. It's in one of his books. I don't remember which one.
Yeah,
But
that's
he had
fascinating.
full encounter. Yeah.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Raymond Moody is a doctor who did significant research into near-death experiences, which is another whole fascinating subject. I think it's incredible, but I love, didn't he work with children a lot too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also.
that was pretty amazing. But yeah, I think seeing apparitions is incredible. I do envy that, though, that he was able to have a conversation, because just think if you were able to just sit down with a spirit, a person that's passed, and have a conversation. What do you experience? I have a million questions that I would ask.
Yeah, I don't remember what exactly it was, and it's one of his lesser known books, but it was something, from what I remember, something urgent. Like she had a message to pass on. She needed him to do something, but I don't remember what it was. But it wasn't just like a casual, like
Yeah,
she needed something,
right.
and he needed to help. Yeah.
Oh, fascinating. So,
Yeah. Crazy.
okay, where are we going now?
Well, I'm thinking, because I have good stories and I don't want to not tell those. Like, I have a lot of stories, but I want to make sure I tell you the most profound ones.
Okay.
So this one, yeah, let me tell you this one. We're jumping further down, like 10 years
Okay.
more. I was 27, but this one is super weird. Actually, before I tell you this one, we'll go back to it. I'll tell you just another dream related to a death because it's in the theme we've already had, and then we'll go back. So this one, I was, how old was I? I think I was like 31. Yeah, I was like 31. And so the same aunt I was telling you about and her sister, right? So their father, who's in Iran, and I've like seen him maybe 2, 3 times in my life, okay? Because he lived in Iran. Didn't really know him, like I wasn't close to him, and was not somebody I would think about,
Right.
on a regular basis. Not that he wasn't important, but I just mean like he's the father of my aunt and her sister. Like, I wasn't that close.
Okay.
Yeah, and so at this point I was in Canada. I was living in Canada with my son, single mom, and then one night I had this dream, and I'm like in Iran in my dream, and I'm at his house or his family. Like he has a lot of daughters. Like my aunt has several sisters that I don't even know. I don't. They all live in Iran. I don't know them. But in my dream, I was in one of these people's homes that I obviously didn't know because I've never been there, and the whole family was there. Like the siblings, the sisters with their husbands and their kids. And I don't know any of these people. I've never met them. I mean, I met him because he came to Switzerland to visit them, but I don't really know the siblings. You know what I mean? But I know this is one of the siblings' homes, and I know these are my aunt's sisters, and their kids. I just know, although I don't know. And I see him, the dad. He's like sitting in this couch on this couch. No, he was sitting on the armchair. He was sitting on this armchair, kind of like a brown armchair. And I knew he's a ghost, okay? And nobody could see him but me. But I didn't want to spook the kids and the sisters, so I didn't say anything. So I was just there like a guest. I was visiting, talking, and the whole time I see him sitting there and I don't say anything. And then in my dream, it becomes night and we all go to bed and I wait for everyone to sleep. And then in my dream, I come back downstairs to see if he's still there and to ask him what he's doing. So I come back down and I tell him like, "What are you doing here?" And I know he's a spirit. And he's like, and then he was sitting on the couch at this point. And then he tells me, he's like, he goes like this and he says, "I can see the light and I want to go towards the light." And then he said, "I can hear my mother's lullabies singing to me, you know?" And I was like, okay. And then I woke up, okay? And then I thought, what a weird dream.
Right.
And I called my mom because my mom was still in Europe and I'm in Canada, so there's a 6-hour time difference.
Sure.
I called my mom and I'm like, I dreamt about my aunt's dad. Like, is he dead? And she's like, no, 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 he's alive. He's very much alive. Like, don't say anything to anyone. And I'm like, no, but I had this dream and it was saying that he's going towards the light and he's hearing his mother's lullabies. Oh, what a funny thing, though. This is again, a message from like tying that a loved one comes to pick you up. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and I'm like, well, should I tell my aunt? And she's like, no, he's fine. He's not sick. Don't tell them anything because if anything does happen to him, They're gonna say that you did something or you jinxed him, you know?
Yeah.
So don't say anything. I was like, okay. So I didn't say anything, but pretty much within like a couple weeks, suddenly like he got very sick. I mean, he was older. He was like
Yeah.
in his 80s. He got sick. And my aunt was like, "Oh, I have to go to Iran because they live in Switzerland as soon as possible. You know, if my dad passes away." I didn't say anything. And then unfortunately, he passed away before she got there. But yeah, he got sick very suddenly and he passed away 2 weeks after this dream.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. It's, but
Um,
again, it's beautiful. It's a little bit haunting, but
yeah.
to know that some. Well, I mean, at this point, did you believe that it was probably that it was premonition?
I thought so.
Okay.
Obviously, I didn't want to
Yeah.
think it also because it's like macabre to kind of be
Yeah.
like, oh, my aunt's dad's gonna die in 2 weeks, you know. But then the beautiful thing that happened is so, she got there then for the funeral and everything. And I called to tell them this. And then the religious one, picked up the phone. And I think there are like 4 or 5 sisters. She picked up the phone and I was like, I had a dream about your dad 2 weeks before his passing. You want to know? And she's like, yeah, 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 let me put you on speakerphone. We should all hear this. So
Oh.
then she called everyone and she's like, everyone, like, I don't like, that's what I tell you. Like, since I was a kid, everyone was like, you're a medium. We believe you. I don't know how I got this, fame. But yeah, so she put it on speaker and I told them the story and they were all so happy. They were so happy and they were like, because for some reason you're a channel and he must have known that or his spirit knew that,
Right.
because he wasn't dead, but like his spirit, his soul must have, and he probably wanted you to have this message to give to us so
Right.
that we be comforted. And they were very comforted. They were like, oh wow, his mom picked him up. They were all really, really happy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sweet. I mean, again, yeah, it's wonderful to think that, like in the NDEs, when you read about those, it seems more, I don't know, you like suddenly you're looking at your body and then there's a tunnel and you go through that and you end up going somewhere. But it is
Yeah.
the big difference, it sounds like, to actual death is that, when it's near death, maybe the family people don't come and pick you up because it's not the real deal and maybe they know that. But the real death, then there's a transition, and it's beautiful that they're not
Mm.
alone and they don't have to face that alone. At least those that are aware of it, not everybody gets that, but I don't think my
Um,
dad did. He never talked about seeing anybody prior to his passing, but he had COPD, and it was just
mm.
one day he had a bad spell, and that was it.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
Sorry you had to go through that.
Oh yeah, but it's unfortunately one of those things that we're all going to face. If you have loved ones, we're all going to face that and have to deal with it. So I think it's wonderful to know or to believe. Maybe we can't know, but I really do believe that they're there with us on that final journey, and that's comforting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope so.
Yeah. And my dad actually came to me in dreams following his passing.
Ah,
So I'm very familiar with what that's like. And when you were talking about the dreams, like it was so real. I always said the same thing. It was more real than me sitting here talking to you. It was just the colors are vibrant, vivid, the smells, the sensations. It's not like a normal dream where there's things seem more ambiguous and relative. It's so different.
no, that's that I agree. Like when I have one of these, they really stand out to me because they do feel really real. Like they don't feel like dreams.
Yeah.
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 And that's why I also like I'll call my mom or I'll tell someone because there is a quality that this is different. It's not just a dream. It doesn't even feel like a dream. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And my dad had come to me several times, and I don't mean to make this about me, but I just want to throw this out there that to give everybody the idea of how real this was for me. There was one dream that happened one night after my dad passed, where I was sitting in my parents' dining room, and my dad was there, and my mom was there, and my mom is still very much alive, and my brother and I were there, and we were talking and stuff, and it was so vivid and so real. The next morning when I got up, I couldn't wait to call my mom because I was sure she had to have known. She had to remember it just like I did because she was
Ah,
there. And I called her. I said, did you have a weird dream last night? And she's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but you knew. But you
Yes,
knew. Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. You knew it was real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, because it's interesting, like, because he was gonna pass, but he didn't know that.
Yeah.
But still in my dream, oh, I don't know. Because some people talk about how, like, there's like something about like our souls, they're both here and there. Have you
Yeah.
heard that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And that during the up till that transformation or that transfer of consciousness or whatever, that maybe there's really a foot in both worlds for a while prior to the actual departure. I firmly believe there's something to that.
Yeah, because it is weird that he told me, but he didn't even know who was gonna die, you know? So
Yeah.
a part of him must have known. I don't know. Yeah, I've heard stuff like that, that there's like, it's like almost like a part of our soul is there already, you know, and we don't even know.
You know, it'd be interesting to know, and there's no way to know now, but if during his final days, if he did think he was hearing his mom's lullabies and stuff, you know, like if some of that was truly, or he's catching flashes of light and was like, well, what's this all about? You know, and it's a very personal experience, but maybe he was, maybe he
That's
had
the
those.
thing. Yeah, but the thing is, right, like, because there's so much taboo around these things, like, I wasn't close to him. Like, I hadn't even thought
Sure.
about him in years.
Yeah.
But if all this stuff was more normal, then we could maybe just call somebody and be like, hey, I dreamt about you. And, you know, like, we could maybe and check and like, are you having visions? Are you hearing a lullaby, you know? But like,
Yeah.
but it's like, it's kind of taboo. Like, you can't just call somebody and be like, hey, you know, do you feel like you're about to die?
Sound like a bad late night infomercial. Yeah, but it's such powerful, incredible experiences. You know, I know the time has just flown, and we've certainly covered a lot of ground, but I know we got a lot more to cover. Will you come back and we can do a part 2?
Sure. I mean, I have still a lot of stories. I have one that's like potentially, I'm not sure if it's an alien abduction or it's like an actual,
Oh,
it was a weird, it's a weird one. I can't, you know, and maybe one of your listeners will listen and be like, oh, I've seen those beings too. And maybe we can finally identify what I
cool.
saw, you know?
Yeah.
So it would be cool to, you know, tell you that one.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back because I've really enjoyed this conversation. And again, I love the focus being on something positive. And, you know, even though these are very emotional situations, there's such a beauty to them. And I think that's the part of the paranormal we don't hear enough about. So, and some people out there are going, well, that's not paranormal, that's religious. Well, I mean, I think it's all the same umbrella. You know, we just have.
I don't see it that way. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but no, to me, these are not religious. Yeah, interesting though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the religious experience as mine, at least. They don't, they just, for me, it's like, I'm not a religious person. I'm a very spiritual person. Like, you know, and my family's the same. Like, we'll go to church or like, we'll participate in different religions. Like, because it's not, we're not religious. Like, we're just spiritual. Like, we believe, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
One has a little bit of the truth, so.
Yeah, I would define myself very much along those lines in a lot of ways as well. But Shiva, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing the stories you did. They were just beautiful and very powerful, and you got to come back.
Time just flew, man. I still have so many stories.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We can make it happen again, but thank you so much for coming on.
Had a good time, too. This was fun.
All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thank you again so much for all your love and support. And remember, if you want to follow the Paranormal Portal, probably the easiest way is to head over to paranormalportal.net. And that's the homepage for the Paranormal Portal. And you'll find links to all of our different social media and sites and information about the shows, including our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/paranormalportal. Or just look for Paranormal Portal on Google or whatever search engine, and you'll find links to our social media such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're spreading as well as we can. But anyway, thank you so much for the love and support. Y'all take care, and remember, we love y'all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Until next time.